Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Kitchen Day. Today is a big day. We are going to try and make it a little bit easier on ourselves and be a little bit kinder to ourselves by separating the kitchen from the pantry and the fridge and freezer. So when we're talking about Kitchen Day today and resetting and refocusing, I actually want you not to do the pantry and the fridge or freezer. We are going to have designated times for those. Today is about the kitchen itself, and like any day in Project 14, I want you to pick the thing that you think is going to make the biggest difference. Now, as I have gone about my space today, I have reset the whole kitchen, but that is because I have done Project 14 for 10 years now, and it gets easier and easier to reset my spaces. I just did a very thorough deep clean of the kitchen in the warehouse, a little bit like when you move out of a home and you have to do that really big clean, and you typically get people in to do that clean. I did that in the warehouse today, and it took me an hour and 45 minutes. That was emptying everything out of every drawer, cleaning the drawer, and then I put everything back in, doing a clean of the bench top, the appliances, the sink, just a really good deep clean. And it took less than 2 hours for me to do the full space. That is because I consistently do Project 14, and I have systems in place where every week I am visiting different spaces inside of our homes so that the space doesn't get overwhelming. Now, at many points along the way, I had a kitchen that was very overwhelming, and I openly share how I had been watching people online sharing their organized homes. And we're talking back to when my eldest son was just born. So that was roughly 16 years ago. And social media was a fairly new thing, and people were sharing their organized spaces. And it was the opposite of what I had in my home. And because I didn't see how people were doing it, I thought it was really easy. I thought it was very simple. And so one day, when Tim went off to work, I said to him, right, today I have designated the entire day to get this kitchen feeling amazing. And 8 hours later, when he returned home, the kitchen was in such a state. 8 hours had passed, and it was so much worse than when he left in the morning. I had taken everything out of every cupboard and every space like I had seen people share online. I'd put it on the bench top, I'd put things on the dining room table, I had put things on the floor, I had emptied out every single cupboard and drawer so that I could wipe it out and start fresh. And I had completely underestimated how much time it was going to take me. And so when Tim arrived home from work, I just burst into tears, and I said to him, I am so tired. I have worked hard all day today, and I've actually just made things worse. And I said to him, organizing and decluttering is not for me. I found the whole process just incredibly difficult. And for a little while, I gave up. I just thought, right, I just shoved everything back into cupboards and drawers, and I never got that organized or decluttered kitchen that I was chasing, because I just thought there's no way that I can do that again. And then slowly, I had this niggling voice of just, you can't keep doing what you're doing. The space can't keep feeling the way it's currently feeling. You have to change something. And so for one reason or another, I committed to 15 minutes at a time. And I remember telling Tim that I was going to do 15 minutes every night before I went to bed, just working through the kitchen or a space in our house. And I was going to do that every single day. And it was a commitment that I had made to myself. And Tim took me about as seriously as he would any other of the amazing ideas I'd come up with years ago, because in his mind, it was just another thing that I was going to do for a short period of time, and then I wasn't going to stick to it long term, and we were just going to end up back where we started. And so Tim did not join me in these 15-minute tidy ups, much to my disgust, because I really wanted it to be a family thing. But I understand that back then I would swap what I was doing all the time. I wouldn't stick to anything. And as a result, nothing worked. And I just found myself back at the start over and over. And many times before, Tim had joined me on these grand ideas that I had years ago. And then I had stopped them myself. And so when I told him about the 15-minute daily tidy, he just said, yeah, sounds great, like you go right ahead, not really committing any part of himself. And then he started to see the difference over time, and slowly he noticed the change in me, because when my space felt better, I felt so much better within myself, and he began to see the value in 15 minutes a day. And after a number of months had passed and we were out of the honeymoon period of the 15-minute tidy up, I remember one night just saying to him, I can't do it tonight. I am so tired. It's been such a day. I'm not doing it. And he said to me, well, why don't we do it together and we just do 7.5 minutes each? And that way we've done the 15-minute tidy up, but it's been a little bit easier for you. And I was like, yep, right, I'll give it a go. And of course, after I started, I was able to do the 15 minutes myself. But of course, there was the bonus of Tim doing the 15 minutes as well. And it flowed onto our family. It became a part of what we do. And they noticed the difference in me. And so they encouraged us to continue to do it, because I felt so much better in my space when it was no longer overwhelming. It didn't have to be perfect, but I just didn't want it to feel overwhelming anymore. All of this stems back to me starting with the kitchen in our home and just wanting a change for myself and not being able to figure out how other people were doing it. So today I'm going to share some tips with you so that you don't find yourself in the same position as I found myself 16 years ago, where when Tim got home, I was just in tears. I just thought it was the worst experience ever, and I never wanted to do it again. For that reason, I have a couple of tips that I share when we're doing any space. I like people to start in when they walk into the room, turn to your left, start on the left-hand side of the room. So this is mirrored, but if I walked into the kitchen, I would be starting with this cupboard here. And then what I want you to do is I want you to work from the top down to the ground. So I would do the top of the fridge. I'm not doing the fridge or freezer today because that is a separate day. But if that's where I was starting, I'm going to go down here and then I'm going to make my way across around the room. Now, for a lot of people, you have cupboards up above, so upper cabinets. So I want you to do left clockwise around the room, starting at the top cupboard, and then do the top cupboard and work your way down before you move across. Now, the reason for this is you can still get as much done as someone that takes everything out. In fact, I would argue that you might get more done. But what happens is if at any point throughout the day your energy runs out, something happens, a child gets sick and needs your attention, or you have had enough, you haven't created chaos for yourself. So as you move around a space, tackle one cupboard at a time, and if you can, just one shelf at a time. Take everything off one shelf, wipe the shelf down, decide how you want it to be, and then put it back. The only time that I would advise you do something different is if you're swapping things from one cupboard to the other. Now today, if I was new to doing kitchen decluttering, and I will be sharing about thinking about where things are stored and possibly swapping where you have things in your space. If it was the first time I'd done Project 14, I would recommend that you don't do swaps today, that you just declutter and organize one cupboard at a time, wipe it out, put things back, make it nice for yourself, make it functional, get rid of things that you no longer want, and then have your space feeling good before you begin doing the switch. We want to be kind to ourselves and we want to set ourselves up for success. So if it's your first round, I would do one cupboard at a time, make sure it's back before you do the next cupboard, and you can make your way around the whole space today if that's what you want to do. But like I said, if you've had enough or you just need to be somewhere else, you can just finish the cupboard you're on and you don't have chaos around you. So that's my number one tip when you are making your way through the kitchen. Now, this is obviously a new space. We're finding our feet. I have no storage solutions in place yet. I am just seeing where we naturally put things, and I'm going to talk you through what we have decided so far, where things are going and where we're at 2 or 3 weeks into being here. And then we're going to go over to the warehouse and I'm going to talk through how I reset that space, because that is where I really had to put the effort in today. This is still in the honeymoon phase. This feels nice and easy. The warehouse was where I really had to put our kitchen strategies in place, and we're going to talk through that. Let's begin on this side of the kitchen. So the upper cupboard at the moment is being used for medication. That makes sense to me because my niece is visiting soon. She's just under 3 and it just feels safer to have that there. There isn't much in there at the moment. It's just a cupboard that we actually had the cabinet maker stop it at the point that I can reach it. So it doesn't open all the way so that I'm able to reach it and close it. But we have the dog's medication there at the moment. We haven't really needed medication ourselves yet. A speaker, and then Tim's Doritos that are hiding there. And I just love that I can reach the upper cupboard. underneath that is the fridge and the freezer, and we're going to have a separate day for that. So I'm not going to talk too much about that today. Behind us is the cooking section of the house. So I've really tried to think of that as we put things in place. We have one pot and one pan at the moment, and that is a decision that we have made. While we were building the house, we saved for the pot and pan that we wanted, and when they are not in use, they actually stay on the top of the stove because we use these every single day. Between my eldest son making himself pasta or hard-boiled eggs, and then at night time us using that frying pan, it just goes from there to the kitchen sink to be cleaned and then back there, and that saves us some storage. We're very lucky that this oven has a pull-out drawer at the bottom, so baking trays can live underneath the oven, and we have the pot filler, which I am just obsessed with. This corner cupboard over here, I might actually flip you around for this. I feel like it's going to be much easier for you to see as if you're looking with my eyes rather than looking at me trying to explain what's in cupboards and drawers. So let me flip you around. I know this is going to surprise some people. That's why I always say never. I do not like having knives out on the bench, but this knife block and the knives don't actually fit anywhere else in our space easily, where we can easily grab them. So for now, they're sitting there while I problem solve that. Here's the pot and pan that we use every single day. And this is such a clever part of this stove and oven. It's got a grill on it, so you can do pikelets, pancakes, like chicken, everything on there. I think that's a great idea. These are so beautiful. Tammy put them there for me. And at the moment, I'm leaving a glass chopping board out all the time. So we have 2 of them. It's always there ready for dinner prep. It doesn't make sense to put it away every day because we use one every day. And then again, like the pot and pan, when we finish using the pot and pan and the chopping board and they've been washed, we put them back here ready for the next night's dinner. Now this side cupboard here, there's not a lot in at the moment. There's just that I put hot pots and pans on the bench top, and that was my banana bread tray. But there's nothing else in this cupboard at the moment. Now, the next part is really important to me. So these are our dishwashers, so the 2 half dishwashers. They've got dirty dishes in them at the moment, but I wanted to think about where I place dishes so that it was really easy for me to put things away. So typically I stand this way when I'm undoing the dishes. Excuse the dirty dishes here for a second, but when I'm unloading dishes, this is how easy it is. So these are our 2, and I'll show you this. This is our 2 most used drawers, and I've got them this close that I actually stand in the middle here, and I'm able to put the plates and bowls and cutlery away over there and the glasses here, and that is the majority of our dishes. So I've tried to make this really easy for myself because I'm not walking from one side of the kitchen to the other. It's just this little distance. Plates are going in here at the moment. I do not like these. They are a nightmare. Like, can you see all those crumbs that have fallen in there? I have not found a way to clean those well, and I actually think I'm going to put a liner over the top of them, like I did here with the tea towel. So this is just a tea towel that's sitting here to make it easy, but we have just our cutlery sitting there while we try and figure out what storage system we want, and we live with what we've got for the moment. So that's our cutlery. These are our plates and bowls, and then down the bottom, again, thinking about where things go, that's the spare cutting board. And again, do you see under here, that mark? That is very difficult to get out of that grey. So I think we're going to put liners in here, make it easier for ourselves. But these are the plastic plates and cups. So when the kids have friends over or we have young kids over, they can actually grab them themselves because it's the bottom drawer and easy for them to grab. All right, next is the glasses drawer. So we've got high glasses, low glasses, and then I love these. I got these to celebrate our first night in the house build. So Tim has one and I have one. We use them all the time. And then big and small glasses. And down the bottom here, nothing there. All right, over here, this one probably makes the least amount of sense at the moment. So this is like our snack drawers. I've got my banana breads. These are the boys. They had, they went through and divided all the food for the school holidays, all the snacks, so that they don't eat each other's snacks. So that's what they've done there. And then we just have a couple of crackers. No proper storage system yet. Just having a look at how things feel for now. And then another empty drawer. Over here we have the mugs, and the reason we have the mugs here is because the coffee machine is under here and it pulls out. So when Tim does coffee in the morning, it makes sense that the drawer right where he's standing is the mug drawer. So that's why we made that decision, and we've used the top for sandwich bags, baking paper and tea towels for now. But it's fairly empty. And then down the bottom here, another empty drawer. Underneath here, Tim put these here. So this is a little sugar and vanilla. And again, it's because he uses that there. So that's what he's chosen, but there's nothing else in that cupboard. And then up above this cupboard is the microwave. So the microwave goes there. There is space for some other things up there, but we're not using that yet. And the microwave already needs a bit of a wipe down. And then we're going to do pantry day separately, but the bottom of this cupboard has our bigger bits and pieces. So mixing bowl, lasagna dish, and I just fell in love with this. Probably didn't need it, but it is so, like, I just love it. I think it's so beautiful. This is for the air fryer, and we have the scales there. And then I will just show you, although we'll talk more about pantry day because we're going to get that set up in time for us. But we have an appliance cupboard that it runs along the rest of the bench here. And just makes it really easy for these things that we grab all the time. So there's PowerPoints there. When we're using them, we just leave this open. The ice machine's just on when we have people. The KitchenAid will probably come out when we're using that. I don't know how practical that is, but I haven't tried yet. And then the Ninja we use all the time. And can I just show you something really fun? These kettles, this range of kettles, rings when you put it down. And even if you just put it on a bench top, that's so cute. I don't know why, but it brings me joy. So that is how we've got the kitchen set up on this side. And then over here, don't watch if you don't like looking at bins, because this is like our bin today. So under here, the bins, there's two there. And then we have a drawer for bin liners and extra chucks cloths for now while we're doing the build clean. And then down here is just our current cleaning products. So this came with the vacuum. I haven't used it yet. This is the product that our builder recommended for our stone. You can get it at Bunnings. So that's what we use for the stone every now and then. And then we're using the koala range. There is a lot of room under here, and I could definitely do something with it. Like, it goes back quite far. But at the moment, that is all we've got. That will go back to the warehouse. So that used to live in the warehouse. Tim brought it down, and then I bought this for the pods moving forward. But that is the cleaning cupboard, and then these are the dishwashers that I just showed you before. Today is the perfect opportunity to have a think about where things are in your kitchen, because so often we put things somewhere just because there was space at the time, and so we filled that space with something new that we needed in our kitchen. But very rarely do we take a step back and consider where we've placed things and whether it works with our routine. So I'd love you to think about that today. Again, if this is your first time doing Project 14, focus on one cupboard or one drawer at a time, and within a cupboard, focus on one shelf at a time. But once you've done that, over the next few weeks, I'd love to challenge you to step back and to see whether things make sense. So are the things that you use the most closest to the sink if you are hand washing, or the dishwasher if you are using a dishwasher, because that is going to save you time. These little things that we do in Project 14 buy us back time, and that's what we want. We want to have a choice with our time. We want to choose. If we want to do more house stuff, great, but if we don't and we feel like we need a little bit of relaxing or to read a book or those sorts of things, it's really great to have the choice of what you do with your time. So anything that we can do that buys us back some time and gives us that choice is really important in my eyes. Have a think about how you want your kitchen to feel, and again, work with what is inside of your control. If there are things that you can change and they'll have a positive impact, today is the day to make them. If there are things that are bothering you and you can't get it perfect, you can't do exactly what you want to do, is there something that you can do that makes it that little bit better, that saves you some time, that creates some space for you, or that feels good? I really value clear open benches, and so I made sure that when we designed this place that we allowed for that to happen. So the appliances are behind closed doors, but just as easy to access. In the warehouse, the appliances that we use all the time are on the benches, and they remain on the benches, because what I don't want to do is have to every day get every appliance out and expect that I'm going to put it back, because on a busy day, I know I'm setting myself up for failure. Set yourself up for success. Have a think about what you use every day, and then scan the room and see whether there are appliances that are out on your bench that you haven't used for weeks. Can they go somewhere else? Is there space for them to be? Can you be creative with your space today and find some solutions to those things that have been bothering you? Let's head on over to the warehouse, which is where the real work had to happen today. Here we go. Here is the warehouse and the space that we had for the kitchen for a number of years. The bench space wasn't quite long enough for me to be able to have something like a microwave on it. So we ended up finding this wine fridge, drink fridge, from Aldi, which was the perfect addition. It was the same height, it continued on from our bench top, and it allowed us to put the microwave on top of it and then the kettle on that. So sometimes you just have to outsmart the situation, and we have come to love it. So today, as I went through and reset this space, I chose not to put the toaster back out because the toaster isn't used very often, but the kettle is used all the time by the boys. The air fryer is used to death. It's actually all its parts are having a deep clean at the moment. And then the coffee machine is like our favorite thing in any space. So these appliances have been left out on purpose, and any other appliances we have been put in this cupboard. And I will flip the camera around and show you what we had in this space, because we had to be really intentional with what we kept. We didn't have room to keep everything that we had previously had in a kitchen, and one of these drawers is fake. It isn't an actual kitchen drawer. It just looks like a drawer so that the sink can sit in there, and this big, what looks like a cupboard there, is not a cupboard. That is the dishwasher. So space-wise, this is all we had for everything we have for a kitchen, and we had to be really selective with what we kept. The strategies I talk about in Project 14 can be used in any space, any size, any configuration of a kitchen, and I'm going to talk through how I use those strategies as I did a deep clean today. So I started on the left-hand side of the kitchen. What I did first was I worked through all the inside of the cupboards and drawers, because I know from past experience that when I empty out a cupboard or drawer, I put things on top of the bench, and if I have completely cleaned the bench, I end up introducing new mess that needs to be cleaned again. So whilst I give the bench top a just light wipe before I put things on it, I don't do a deep clean of the bench top until the very end. So I started on the left-hand side. That's our appliance cupboard. I'm of course going to show you through all the cupboards and drawers, but I started with that, and then I went to the next drawer up here, worked from the top to the bottom. So I was working left to right in our space, top to bottom, and I did one drawer at a time and finished that completely before I moved to the one underneath. Again, that is just so that if something happens in the day where I run out of fuel myself, run out of energy, that I've set myself up for success and I've been kind to myself, because these jobs can feel momentous, and we don't want to put ourselves in a position today where we think it's not for us and we never want to try this again. So be kind to yourself, set yourself up for success. I moved all the way through, and then once I had done that, I worked through the appliances. So one appliance at a time, I gave everything a deep clean. So the coffee machine was completely taken apart and all the bits and pieces were washed and put on a tea towel on the bench top. I also cleaned through the deep fryer, although we're not having as much success with that. We're actually going to try gurneying it next, and if that fails, I'm going to have to buy replacement parts, because I just want things back fresh again. Given that we're moving out of this space, I want to leave this space feeling good and not have those bits and pieces. And for me, that's just something on my visual to-do list and on my mental load. And then after I had cleaned all the appliances, I went through and I gave the bench top a good wash. Now, the final thing in any space is the floor, because as you work through a space, naturally things will fall on the floor. So be mindful of the order that you do things in so that you do not create extra work for yourself. All right, let's go through and I'll show you what is in this space. This gives you a good look at the bench space. So the a lot of the bench space is already used with the air fryer and the coffee machine. Typically we put dirty dishes there ready for the dishwasher. So because I know that about our routine, if I put the microwave on this bench top as well, I would have used up nearly every bit of bench space that we have, and we don't have an island or anything like that. So this drink fridge was a great solution. It's not on at the moment. When we have friends over, we turn it on and we'll put drinks in there, but it allows the microwave to sit on top and then the kettle on top of that. The air fryer and coffee machine has pride of place. And then in this first cupboard, these are our appliances. So slow cooker and a couple of containers. And then down the bottom here, the Ninja Slushie, the sandwich grill, and another grill. So because we didn't have a stovetop, that grill was very handy and we've left it in this space. All right, going through the drawers. First drawer is the happy drawer. This is where the teas and coffees live. And there's so many different things here. So if you want a matcha, if you want a vanilla latte, an iced tea, there's peppermint tea, chamomile tea, digest tea. If you have an upset stomach, it's just a really great drawer. That's why I call it the happy drawer. And Tim built this for me. Once upon a time, we were actually going to sell these to people, and then we just couldn't figure it out logistically. All right, next drawer down. This is such a fun drawer. So these are all the cups and mugs that we accumulated while we were here. So there are some that have been gifts, that have like my eldest son and friends' kids that they made for him. There's cups like this that have been gifted to the boys. These ones are really special. Tim's late nan gave these to him, and I feel like they'll make their way to the house build. All the Luxies that I'd have my morning coffee with are in here. At the moment, my morning routine involves me having my coffee in a mug because I'm getting up earlier. So at the house we have mugs, but those Luxies will make their way down if my routine changes. So these are all our cups and mugs. They have to nestle inside of each other because there's too many for the drawer, and I made a commitment that they wouldn't overflow out of this drawer. So we've had to be smart with that one. So that's our glasses. And then this one, these are all cocktail and wine glasses there. So that's what lives in that drawer. All right, over to this side. This is the cutlery drawer. So we have knives, tongs, and cutlery. Then straws and chopsticks for my eldest son, who likes to eat with chopsticks from time to time. Next drawer down are our plates. So we accumulated some melamine plates for when young kids came to visit, and then these are the plates we would use. And again, we got some plastic plates for camping, which we use when young kids come. They're our bowls, and again, it's a little bit of a mix because over time, some of the bowls and plates broke and they became a bit mismatched. And then in here, this is like the working drawer. So the boys haven't used lunchboxes for a very long time now, but they're there in case they change their mind. This my eldest son bought because he likes to make big things of pasta. And then we had one pan in the time that we were here. So that's everything there. This drawer is fake. This one is for water bottles and protein mixers, and this bottom one holds our cleaning bits and pieces for up here. So dishcloths, tea towels, wipes, bin bags, that's dishwashing tablets, and dishwashing liquid. And then this one is the dishwasher. And like I said, no matter the size of your space, the same principles apply. Try and outsmart the things that are bothering you. Make them work for you. Make them the best version that they can be. And instead of your space bothering you, challenge yourself to see the best in it and find the joy in it, no matter what it looks like. See what you can do in your space in this season of life, because the only person that is affected by not enjoying their space is you. The space doesn't change. The way that we view it is what changes, and that is all we have control over. We often can't change the space that we're in. We might be in a certain space for a long period of time or a short period of time, depending on what's going on in our life. But I think it's really important to try to focus on our perspective and to remind ourselves that some things are outside of our control, but our mindset and our ability to problem solve and challenge ourselves to see beyond something that is a barrier is a really important life skill. So today, that is your challenge. If you're looking for a list of 3 today, your list of 3 is this. I want you to deep clean one appliance. Of course, you can do more than that, but choose an appliance that's really been bothering you and give it a deep clean. I want you to do a 15-minute reset at a minimum of going through and wiping down your space and just moving things out of the space that you don't want to be in the space. And then number 3, I want you to take a step back and I want you to think about one change that you can make that will have a positive impact for you. So step back as you begin today's task and think about what isn't working. Consider where things are being put, and if that isn't their natural home, think about whether today's the day that we start to switch where they go, so that we're working with where people naturally put things back or where we naturally put things back, and we're not working against ourselves. So step back, have a look at what's happening, and challenge yourself to find one thing that you can improve inside of your kitchen space. Now, I would love to see before and afters today. I find kitchens so inspiring. The starting point is what it is, right? We have arrived today and our space is the way it looks. And there is nothing that we can do to change that now, because the way it is how it is. But what we do have control of is what we choose to do with it today. And that's what we want to celebrate alongside you. So take a before photo, take a progress photo. I would love to celebrate the progress that you have made today, because so often it can feel really lonely. You're putting all this hard work in, and I don't want you to feel lonely doing today's task. I want you to have this community around you where we see the work that you're putting in and we appreciate the effort that it takes, and we're here to encourage you to keep going. Good luck, everyone. Have a great day. Happy Kitchen Day. Bye.